to be here this afternoon. Thanks very much for the introduction here. It's lovely. I don't know whether it's horrible and wet and windy where you are, but here in Essex it is really not a very nice day. So I hope if you're in a school somewhere, you've got a really nice hot cup of tea if you're listening to us live, or if you're listening to the recording, I hope perhaps marking some books on a Sunday evening, I hope you've got a nice big glass of wine or tipple of choice with you, because we've got 45 minutes now to talk about a couple of important things around reading. I'm Fiona and Director of Schools Programmes at the National Literacy Trust, and my colleague Ken is here with me, and we also have later joining us Mr. Dilly, who is a celebrity in the book world, who would like to introduce to you later. But we want to talk this afternoon about an aspect of reading that you may be thinking about more now in the context of your children coming back after this pandemic year, and that's reading stamina, particularly if you're a teacher of year 1 and year 2 who perhaps had less opportunities to practice reading over the last 18 months or so. So what we're hoping to do is to discuss that in a bit of detail, think about the research around that, and then offer you some solutions that we've come up with at the National Literacy Trust that you can use tomorrow in your classroom, or next term, or this academic year. So we're just going to rattle through that, and we have a PowerPoint. I'm going to do that Chris Whitty thing, Hen, if that's all right. If you do the PowerPoint sharing and I do the next slide, please thing. We've got our starting slide here is really what we're about is developing reading for pleasure. As part of this festival of reading, you've heard lots and lots of interesting things, lots of interesting topics around reading for pleasure. And what we want to just hone in to this afternoon on is that aspect of motivation and reading stamina. So we wanted to think really on the next slide about how we can support children to get the practice they need for reading to become automatic and pleasurable. And that's particularly true for children that probably have not done the reading at home that they might have done in a normal year, that have not been to the library in the same year, that have not had the reading books going backwards and forwards between home in the same way that they would have done, and who are at risk of not getting into this reading business if we're not careful. So we wanted to look at that, but I wanted to start really by asking if there's anybody who's done Couch to 5K. I'm hoping it's not only Boris Johnson that decided in the pandemic to start to run. I decided that I'd try this running life because everybody around us, especially in the second lockdown, was pounding the streets, old and young, all ages and abilities, decided to take up running. So I thought I'd give it a go as well. And that was also because we do a fun run every year at the National Literacy Trust called the Great Wally, Where's Wally Fun Run. And I wanted to see if I could do 5K in order to raise money for the trust. So I did Couch to 5K, which is that amazing app supported by the BBC, which takes you from literally being sitting on your sofa to being able to run from 1 minute and then to 30 minutes without stopping. And it's the one where you've got access to all sorts of famous people that you can choose as your supporter, your buddy. So I chose Sarah Millican and had Sarah Millican as my support, and it was totally brilliant. I did go from never having done any running before ever in my whole life to actually being able to run 5K, and I now do it 3 times a week, and I even do park run at the weekend, and I'm really, really proud of myself. But all the time that I was doing that, I couldn't help thinking that it was actually exactly the same process that we're asking our children to go through when they are developing their stamina as readers. And it's quite unusual, I think, for us as adults to be put back in that position, because as adults, we don't learn many new things. And it was really interesting to see what was required of me to go from not being very automatic or very good at something to being able to do it without thinking too hard about it, being quite comfortable and comfortable about it, and how much more pleasurable that thing became as a result. So how can we support children to get the practice they need for reading to become automatic and then pleasurable? What can we do if the motivation is there, but the reading muscles are underdeveloped? What can we do if the interest is there, but the stamina is lacking? And what can we do to encourage enough time to be set aside in school or outside of school for reading practice? Because really, you know, to get into good habits, we all need some help to get into good habits. In the same way that I needed help to get into running habits, we're seeing lots of children needing help to get into the reading habit. So we started by, you know, looking at extrinsic and intrinsic motivation, and you will have heard a lot about this in relation to reading. I mean, obviously, our ultimate goal is for all our pupils to be volitional readers, to choose to read in their free time. We want them to demonstrate self-agency in their choice of books, to be comfortable reading any sort of text in any format, depending on their mood, where they're reading, you know, how they're feeling, what their energy levels are like, depending on what they're seeking from that interaction with that text at that point in time. In short, we want them eventually to be reading like we are readers as adults. But you don't go just from learning to read to suddenly being that motivated and automatic reader. And even if you've got a fabulous reading for pleasure strategy in place and you're doing all those sorts of things, there's still something in between that gets you from being a reader that's just learnt the skill of reading to actually being an automatic reader. And the thing in between is probably practice. And what you get as the result of your practice is probably the stamina, which then builds, it gives you the ability to read comfortably and to read what you want to read. These are the things that you probably hear associated with extrinsic motivation and reading. These are certainly things that I've heard a lot over the years. Books shouldn't be like Brussels sprouts, something you have to get through because they're good for you. Rewarding reading sends a message that it's a chore. Reading mileage has very little to do with comprehension or enjoyment, and extrinsic motivation is far less powerful than intrinsic motivation. And that's certainly true that all those things I can completely accept are valid in relation to how looking at children learning to read. However, it did give me a little bit of pause for thought when I had done my couch to 5K, and I kind of went back and tested all those statements against sort of my running journey. And I thought, you know, running shouldn't be like Brussels sprouts, something you have to get through because it's good for you. No, but you kind of know when you start running that there's going to be a bit of work to do and that the reward will be afterwards. Running shouldn't, you know, rewarding running sends a message that it's a chore, potentially. But I was really, really grateful when Sarah Millican said at the end of my run, "Well done, pet, you've done 3 kilometres." Running mileage has very little to do with enjoyment, probably not, but actually the sense of achievement I had when I had run 5K was enormous. And extrinsic motivation is far less powerful than intrinsic motivation. I think that's true. It was intrinsic motivation that made me start to think that I wanted to do it. It was, you know, a good thing to be doing to get everybody through the pandemic. So I did have some intrinsic motivation. I knew why I wanted to do it, and I knew what my ultimate goal was to do it. But frankly, it was extrinsic motivation that kept me going. It was having the couch to 5K. It was gradually and incrementally getting better and better, and having someone tell me on my app that I was getting better every time I did a run. So all those things kind of gave me a bit of sort of pause for thought when I was thinking about extrinsic motivation in relation to reading. And we had a little think as an organisation on our next slide and talked to some teachers about which strategies they employed to encourage children to read more frequently in order to build reading stamina. And the reasons we asked this question was because we work in a lot of schools where children, many children, don't necessarily have huge amounts of support at home or time made at home to practice reading. They may not have a lot of books at home, they may not be taken to the library. So a lot of the reading practice is done in school, or teachers have to find very creative ways to make sure that it's done outside of school. So we asked these questions at the beginning of the sort of middle of the pandemic, and it was really interesting the responses we had from teachers. So they said 60% of them said we use reading clubs. 60% said they used whole school competitions. 57% said they used class or year group competitions. Nearly 50% did the summer reading challenge. Absolutely brilliant initiative that takes place in libraries over the summer, run by the reading agency. 46% used accelerated reader quizzes and rewards, and 22% did sponsored reads like Read for Good, that used to be called Readathon. And we found that really, really interesting. And we dug a little bit deeper really as to, you know, if we're doing these things in schools and teachers are doing these things, are they having the required response? Are they having the required impact on actually building children's stamina? So we've looked at the research, and on the next slide I've just put a few links to sort of 5 or 6 research documents that shed a bit of light on both the positive and the negative impact of extrinsic motivation on reading. But we've honed down on the ones that look particularly into reading challenges, because that was the thing that teachers came back to us saying was they were most likely to use as a tool in reading stamina. And you can look at these. I've put all the links here so that you can find these yourselves and give them a really detailed read. But I'll briefly sort of give you a summary of what they said. Many of you may be thinking, I've done reading challenges and it hasn't had the impact that I've wanted to. And I can certainly say that from personal experience, I can know children that have done reading challenges which has turned them off reading. And I know children that have done reading challenges which has rather than broadened their reading repertoire, it's actually narrowed their repertoire. One would be my own son, who once did the summer reading challenge in the holidays, and he decided it would be a very good idea if he read 6 joke books as his reading challenge, because that would be very, very quick, and he would quickly get his medal as a result of it. But actually, when you dig a little bit deeper, there are lots and lots of benefits that people are finding from reading challenges. So the summer reading challenge, for example, evidence from that showed that one of its main advantages, what it offers pupils in terms of being able to develop a range of reading experiences and extend their scope. And teachers also commented on how they saw children gaining a wider reading repertoire, increased confidence as readers, and greater independence as advantages of that programme. We also looked at a more recent study in 2018 from the Scottish Book Trust, looking at the First Minister's Reading Challenge in Scotland. And the research from that was fascinating. That showed that almost all the pupils said they were reading more books, reading more often, and reading in more places as a result of taking part. And some also said they were now choosing to read a book instead of engaging in other activities such as reading TV or playing video games. And some of the pupils had even noticed this difference in their peers, which was, again, really interesting. Teachers and parents have also commented on more positive reading behaviours after taking part in that challenge, with 82% of teachers feeling that the challenge should encourage their pupils to read for pleasure more often. In particular, schools reported they had noticed changes in reading behaviour among certain groups of pupils, such as boys and pupils from disadvantaged areas and pupils with English as an additional language. So that was really, really interesting. The other reports that we put on this slide here also showed similar benefits. So increased positive reading behaviours has also been documented as part of Readathon and Accelerated Reader. 6,000 pupils who took part in Readathon in 2017 increased their reading frequency and also the reading stamina. So there's quite a lot of research around the reading challenges and how it can not answer absolutely everything about reading for pleasure, but how it could actually help to develop that reading stamina, develop the reading frequency, and develop and broaden out children's repertoire of books and texts that they read. Just going on to the next slide. One of the things that teachers said to us was, if you're going to do a reading challenge, we've got to be really, really careful that it's totally inclusive, and you've got to be really, really sure what it is that you're using your reading challenge for. They were looking for challenges that could be totally differentiated depending on the reading ability of the children, that were equally interesting for children that were just starting to become readers and those that were really, really good readers. They wanted something that was challenge children to read beyond the same authors that you normally see, so perhaps to get them off their normal diet of reading and broaden their diet of reading in order to discover more brilliant books that they might not have otherwise known about. And they wanted a challenge that allows some children to be taken completely out of their comfort zone, whilst at the same time supporting other children that needed more support as part of the reading challenge. So we took all of that into account and started a project which Hen's going to tell you about a little bit in a moment, where we've developed some reading challenges that we put into play last year, and that we've monitored and evaluated as we've gone along. And they have actually been really, really successful. And we've had a lot of feedback from teachers about how useful it's been, particularly with that sort of age group, the year 2s and year 3s, who are just moving from learning to read to be readers, those who are just wanting to get onto chapter books, wanting to be independent readers and read themselves. So I think, our advice from our teaching colleagues that we've talked about is, if you want to really tackle this reading stamina question, this reading stamina issue, do think of it as an issue and do be very proactive and intentional about how you get sorted in your class to address it. You wouldn't expect to learn to run without a decent pair of trainers. I spent a long time faffing about with my new trainers and my new running kit and my new headphones when I started to decide that I was going to take on board increasing my running stamina. So it's a bit the same really with reading stamina. Get everything you can in place for intrinsic motivation. So get your intrinsic motivation in place first of all. So building your reading stamina as attractive as possible. Children will read more if it's books that they want to read. And just listening to our panelists from the previous session, it's incredibly important that you have got a book selection that is suitable and appropriate, that is new and modern and diverse, in which children can see themselves represented and their lived experiences reflected. And that is really, really going to help them want to read in the first place. Choice is incredibly important. I chose when I ran, where I ran. Self-agency is massively important in terms of intrinsic motivation. So you must set things up so that children have plenty of choice around what they read and how they read and when they read. It needs to be a social and a shared experience. Huge amounts of research around reading for pleasure as a shared experience. That's the real key to it. And quite often what we do as adults as readers is it's part of a shared experience. You'll have a wonderful positive reading culture in your classrooms, I'm sure, but it's also about finding time and opportunities and fun and meaningful rewards. And when you've got all of that in place, you can layer on top a bit of extrinsic motivation in the form of things like competitions and reading challenges. And when you do that, you can take your cue from Couch to 5K and you can look at all the learning from Couch to 5K and make sure that your reading challenge is comfortable, non-threatening, achievable, and that you're helping your children go through it in incremental steps so that they're seeing the reward at each stage in the process. So if you do think you want to do that, then we have lots of things that we can give you as an organisation at the National Literacy Trust to help you on your way. So I'm going to hand over in a minute to Hen to take you through Reading Champions, which is all about our reading challenges, which is our equivalent to Couch to 5K in the reading space. And then we're going to hand over to Mr. Dilly, who is going to talk to you about something which I suppose is the equivalent in the reading space to park run, because it's what you might do after you've done your Couch to 5K. It's what you might do after you've done your reading challenges. It's national, it's fun, it's competitive, and it takes place across the country. So if that is not at the risk of, completely flogging a metaphor, that's what we're hoping to do next. So I'll hand over to you, Hen, to talk about the reading challenges.
Brilliant. Thanks, Fiona. Thanks very much. It's really nice to have a chance to talk to you about Reading Champions. Actually, it's a programme, as Fiona said, that was launched only this time last year, actually, but has already started to make a really positive impact in all the ways we hoped it would. So this slide really, it's just at the NLT, we work with a whole host of partners, and it's no different for this particular programme. The Authors Licensing and Collecting Society, or ALCS, is the funder that underpins the whole programme. But with the reading challenges themselves as individuals, we're always looking for funding and collaboration from additional partners for the separate challenges. And this often shapes the challenge itself, which is exciting and interesting. And it also allows for more scope within the challenge and what resources we can offer schools. So that's just a little snapshot of who we've been working with this past year. So what is a reading challenge? So we aim to structure these challenges in a similar way. With each challenge we have in our mind a very busy teacher who is looking to focus on reading in a fun and engaging way, and would appreciate a sort of an off-the-shelf product, if you like, that can slot nicely and easily into an already tight schedule, demanding curriculum. The needs vary considerably between the age bracket of 5 to 14 years, as you know, but as much as possible, we look to support all three sort of stages within a single challenge. This slide here is a sort of quick overview of what scaffolds a reading challenge. So we can see that they're bite-sized challenges, and they run sort of for 6 to 8 weeks. They're designed to help build a reading culture in schools by encouraging reading for pleasure, reading diversely, and supporting development of reading stamina. As we've mentioned, they're open to and completely free for all UK schools, and they span across the key stages of 1, 2, and 3. Each challenge is set up to have its own engaging theme. It's supported by a suite of resources. These can include, well, they always include teacher guideline notes, and there'll be additional elements such as posters or templates, free books where we can, sometimes even video clips, just to make the challenge a bit more fun and bring that life right into the heart of the classroom. We do include a small competitive element for schools to pursue if teachers find it incentivizes their students, but it's a modest part. We don't want the children to feel judged on their reading. It just can be another additional thing, like as a class, if you've done a lovely wall display, send in a photo and maybe you'll win a lovely box of books for your school or something like that. So the challenge doesn't hang on entering a competition. It just is an additional element of teachers' activities. So this is just an overview of the variety of challenges that we've managed to provide this first year. We've got the Reading Tree Challenge. This looked at whole school literacy. It recommended ways that students could discuss book recommendations and reviews with each other and with their teachers. And with the tree, they could visibly see their reading culture grow, if you like. We have the We Wonder Mission to Mars, which was a STEM challenge, which actually proved really brilliant for Key Stage 3 in particular. It focused on reading and researching about Mars and invited designs of survival habitats based on what role a student could see themselves being if they had to be colonizing Mars. We looked at magazines, which is another great source of reading, fun reading for kids. There's lots of different themes and choices out there for everybody. We got some great input from Immediate Media. They sort of gave a really good sort of how to read and get the most out of a magazine. And it was fun because apparently the thing everyone enjoys most is doing quizzes in magazines, normally about themselves, sort of what emotion are you today, or that sort of thing. And so we got the students reading and then designing their own quizzes, which was really fun. We've got the Euro 2020. This was obviously all about the football tournament, with creating lovely book wall charts in classrooms. And then finally, just launched this week, we've got a lovely challenge with Disney Theatrical. They've just launched a live stage tour around the UK, and this ties in directly with that, and it's called Beauty, the Beast and You. And it's a really creative look at the oldest of all fairy tales and how that sits within all stories that we read. It is the oldest of all fairy tales, I discovered, alongside Rumpelstiltskin, apparently. So there we go. So it's a lovely challenge. This slide is really showing what you as a teacher would have to help you run the challenge. It's just a sort of very snapshot overview of the resources that we have, that we hold on our website that you can download. We try to make them as comprehensive as possible to assist with planning and scheduling, as well as trying to offer schools that little something extra that perhaps they wouldn't find elsewhere. So we had Axel Scheffler's Hope Tree, which we adapted and designed into a larger poster. We had Roy of the Rovers, which was Tom Palmer's live story chapters that went up every 2 or 3 days during the football. We have for Beauty and the Beast, they've given us script extracts, which are taken from their current stage show. For Mars, the Mission to Mars, we were able to offer 70 schools a fantastic box of books each, which could help the students do all their research and reading. And but even when the allotted time, so when I say that they run for 6 to 8 weeks, that's when they kind of sit on our website as a live challenge, if you like. But we accrue them over the years, and they'll sit there and you can access them at any time. So if there's a particular topic that's pertinent to something you're doing in the class, you can go back and revisit it. The Hope Tree, the Reading Tree Challenge, for example, launched last September, but it's still regularly downloaded as a challenge because it might just happen to fit with what teachers are trying to do with their students at the time. So what's coming next? Well, I can't really say explicitly, actually, because they're all in the pipeline, but I have a few clues of what's coming up next for the 21-22 academic year. We're going to be looking at themes of well-being. We're going to be looking at the environment. There's going to be a bit of wizarding magic in there, and there's always more football not too far away. So I think, this upcoming year, I'm very excited about as well, and really want to replicate this sort of lovely breadth and variety that we've started off this year with, which would be very nice. So how's the engagement been from schools? So we've had a huge number of resource downloads. We've had a huge number of page views. This is a collection of all the reading challenges together. And we've estimated that we've got about 70,000 students engaged across the UK, and that I think is quite conservative, actually, because the football one alone had a huge impact, we know. We've had some feedback from teachers. It's always great. We actively encourage this. Every reading challenge has a small survey sitting at the bottom of the page where you can leave your views. It really helps sort of shape the future challenges and lets us know what you feel is right and what could be altered. These are just 2 quotes I pulled out for today, and I think they illustrate how popular the themes have been and how challenges like this have really sort of helped the advancement of reading within school, and also in this past year, quite crucially, I think they've supported teachers and students during the lockdowns. The bottom quote from Jade Aldridge was really, really great to see. Jade's a fantastic teacher, and she actually rolled out the Mission to Mars challenge to 750 year 7 and 8 students during home learning. And it was great to hear directly from those students how much they had got out of the project. Her last sentence, we are even having students commenting, saying they have waited their entire lives to answer this question in class. But I think it was more that also they were working later to research and read around the topic as well, which was really, really great to hear. A lovely comment from Julie Daniel as well, saying that, the sort of community spirit that was generated by the Reading Tree Challenge was lovely in itself, but was particularly nice to have to come back to when obviously so many children had been separated from school during the pandemic. So that was really nice to hear as well. So these challenges, they work well in school. They work well for homework. You know, students, the lockdown proved that students can very happily get on with these as well outside of the classroom. They're fun, so they could possibly be done during the holidays with parents, and they are good for all ages and stages. So I hope you have a chance to look at them and explore them, and perhaps wait for ones that come out this year as well. So what if you do already have really super duper keen readers in your school, or you've been doing these challenges and you've got some students who can't stop reading for pleasure? What's their next challenge? Well, their next challenge is to reward them with a chance to really shine with their reading at school and let them take part in a national competition all about reading, which is namely the National Reading Champions Quiz. And we ran this for the first time as well this year in the summer term, and just some stats here just to share with you very quickly. So we had 519 teams signed up from over 300 schools, which is over 2,000 students taking part in the quizzes. We had 17 regional heats and one grand final, and this all equated to 54 hours of online quizzing with over 1,800 questions asked. And fortunately, at the end of all of that, we did end up with one winner, which was very, very exciting. It was a very positive event for students, I think, again, especially during the pandemic when so much had been cancelled. And I mean, with every regional heat, I never got bored of logging on and seeing the teams joining one by one. And there was, even though it was online, I could still sense the excitement and the anticipation. And we wanted these regional heats to feel inclusive and fun. We wanted them to be challenging but achievable. We wanted them to cover as wide a range of fiction as possible and really celebrate that breadth of children's literature. We included conventional style questions, such as sort of opening and closing lines of a book or a poem. We had multiple choice questions, we had visual rounds, and then we also had things like anagrams, crossword clues, and even numbers, sort of mathematical sums, to bring all that range and knowledge of reading to life. So here's just a little collage, if you like, some of the photos of some of the teams that took part. And as I say, it was great to see so much fun and excitement going on up and down the country with the quiz. And it genuinely was a celebration of readers, libraries, librarians, and all the teachers who support reading in school. It was really, really great. And then again, just to give you a little bit of feedback from those that took part. So here are just a couple to share with you now. The Discovery Academy, the second quote, they're a large secondary state school in Stoke with about 35% of students on free school meals. And they have a really, really super librarian there who, and as a school, they have worked with the NLT over the years on a number of projects. And Jennifer actually emailed saying, "Oh, I've just entered 2 teams into the quiz. I think it will give them such a boost to be part of the national competition." And amazing, and it was great. They ended up totally smashing their heat and coming second in the grand final. I mean, it really was a great outcome born from such nice intentions, and it was really, really, really good to see. And as she says, you know, it gave her a chance to promote reading within the whole school, and also she loved seeing her students come together as a team, and also, you know, they enjoyed the quiz itself, which was great. But I think it really, really brought a huge amount of pleasure, reading and otherwise, to the school, which was really, really nice. And then above, Sandra's just saying how much fun it was, and the fact that the students are already talking about competing next year is a really great sign. And that it raised the profile of reading in the school is all that we can ask for, really, I think. And so I hope maybe that's whetted your appetite to take part. I hope so. It will run again in 2022. So do keep an eye out for our newsletters, where you can sort of find out and get advance warning of how you can register. And just so you know, it's for students aged 10 to 14 years, which equates to years 6 up to year 9. And you know, even though it's only going into its second year, we've already sort of accrued a lot of knowledge ourselves as to how beneficial this is. And I mean, one thing to really think about, you know, if you're a primary school, you know, why not get in touch with the secondary schools in your area, or vice versa? And maybe you can mutually support each other's teams to take part, or maybe even blend a team, you know, maybe have a year 6 student with a year 7 and a year 8 student or something. You know, it could work as a really, really nice transition tool as well. And I think that's something we're really going to try and encourage all our schools to do in the various regions across the UK. So that's a quick whiz through the quiz and the challenges. I think if you have any questions, probably the best thing is to put them in the chat. But what I'd really like to do now, actually, is welcome our super quiz master, Mr. Dilly, who, if you want to know who read out the 1,800 questions and did the 54 hours of quizzing, well, it was none other than Mr. Dilly himself. And we thought it would be really fun just to test your own knowledge in a very quick, very fun 10-question quiz. And I'm going to stop sharing this. I'm going to hand over to Mr. Dilly, and he's going to take you through this bit of the presentation.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Lovely to be with you all this afternoon. Lovely to be with you. I think you've had a long week of listening to all sorts of people. So I think I'm the final person you don't have to listen to me, but I'd be grateful if you did listen to me. I hope you've learned an awful lot this week. Henriette has just explained about the National Reading Champions quiz this year, which was amazing to do. I didn't quite realize that 54 hours of quizzing, 1,800 questions asked. It was very exhausting, but it was an amazing thing. And it was incredible to really see, even through the internet, so many children enjoying themselves, and you know, the sort of the power of working together, and also the incredible width of children's books out there, and the knowledge that a lot of children had. And we had a whole range of questions, from, you know, some very difficult ones to sort of easy. So there's a whole load of abilities in there. So really looking forward to bringing that to schools again next March. So if you haven't signed up, and when it goes sign up, I will see you there. But as a little taster for you this afternoon, and to finish with a little bit of fun, what we thought we would do is, or I thought we'd do is we're going to have a little selection of the sort of questions that we used in the quiz, just for fun. Although if you do win today, I do understand the Literacy Trust have said they will be sending you £1 million. I know, it's just quite incredible. They don't know that, but apparently they are. So that's good news. But that won't be from me. So what we're going to do today, we're going to have 10 questions. And as I said, they'll give an idea of the sort of rounds that we had in the quiz. I'll read each question twice. Obviously, no one's going to know who's won. And if you can't get the question right, that's fine, because nobody knows either. But, you know, give it a good go. Give it a good go. So we need 10 questions. The final question will be a very sort of different thing, and that'll be a video round. And I'll tell you a little bit about that as we get close to it. But I hope we're ready to go. So this is a little selection from the National Reading Champions Quiz 2021 in preparation for the National Reading Champions Quiz 2022. So here we go. Get yourselves ready, and let's see how good your knowledge of children's books actually is, because some of the questions here were some of the questions that the children answered themselves. So first of all, question 1 was from our odd one out round, and I'll be reading these questions twice, and then I'll give you about 10 seconds, and then I'll give you the answer. So here we go, odd one out. Listen up. Here we go. Question 1. Peter, Lucy, Susan, Diggory, or Edmund? Which one is the odd one out? I'll read that again. Peter, Lucy, Susan, Diggory, or Edmund? Which one is the odd one out? I'm going to give you 10 seconds, have a think about it. Then we're going to move on. So we've got 8, 7, 6. I have my kazoo at the ready. 4, 3, 2, 1, and okay, time up. What was the answer? The answer was Diggory. Give yourselves a big round of applause if you got that. A little bit of dancing around the room. Fantastic. A little bit of information. All are the Pevensey children from the Narnia Chronicles by C.S. Lewis, of course. Diggory is the name of the eccentric professor the children lived with during their evacuation. So Staying with odd one out. Question 2, lovely people. Question 2. Here we go. Which does not belong? Which does not belong? Cosmo, Soldier, Fang, or Joey? Which does not belong? Cosmo, Soldier, Fang, or Joey? 10 seconds on the clock here. 10 seconds. Have a think. Come on, you can do it. I believe in you all. Fantastic. 3, 2, 1, and this bit. Okay, fantastic. The answer was, drum roll, Joey. Joey is the name of the horse from Warhorse. The rest are all dogs in various books. I, Cosmo, Soldier Dog, and Harry Potter. So, first 2 questions done. I hope you've done well with that. So this is question 3, and this is an opening lines question. So this was also one of the rounds we had back in March. I think it was March, April. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you an extract from a book, and it's the opening paragraph of the book. I'm only going to read the extract once this time, and I want you to try and guess to me who the title, so what the title of the book is, and who is the author. So to get the point, and to give yourself that little jig around the living room, bedroom, kitchen, wherever you are, you've got to get the title of the book and the author. So here we have the opening paragraph. I will read this once. I know I'm not an ordinary 10-year-old kid. I mean, sure, I do ordinary things. I eat ice cream. I ride my bike. I play ball. I have an Xbox. Stuff like that makes me ordinary, I guess. And I feel ordinary inside. But I know ordinary kids don't make other ordinary kids run away screaming in playgrounds. I know ordinary kids don't get stared at wherever they go. What book is that the opening paragraph to? And the author's name, please. 10 seconds. Remember, both needed for the point. No slacking, people, no slacking. 3, 2, 1, and okay. Now this next question, when I did it, I can't obviously see any of you today, but when we did it with the schools, we had as many as we could on the screen, which was wonderful. And you could see them all in their various lecture theatres or classrooms or school halls. And this was a great one. It was question 4. It was villains round, and they loved the villains round. And across the country, when we did it, the whole regions of the country, we'd have them all doing evil, wicked laughs right across like the north of Scotland or across the south of England, wherever it was. It was fantastic. I would love to do that with you today, but obviously I can't see you laughing. So you're welcome to sort of let it all out and do that nice evil, wicked laugh yourself, because, you know, it's a sort of a tension release. It's okay. So question 4 is our villains round, people. Villains. Here we go. This is a kind of a multiple choice, if you like. Here we go. In Catherine Rundell's The Good Thieves, Vita Marlowe and her friends fight a notorious con man to recover her grandfather Jack's home to him. What is the name of the con man? Is it A, Count Olaf? Is it B, Victor Soratore? Or is it C, Child Catcher? I'll read that again. In Catherine Rundell's The Good Thieves, Vita Marlowe and her friends fight a notorious con man to recover her grandfather Jack's home to him. What is the name of the con man? Is it A, Count Olaf, B, Victor Soratore, or C, the Child Catcher? Get that grey matter working, people. We got 9 seconds left. 3, 2, 1. Give this bit. Fantastic. Here we go. So question 5. So we're moving on from villains now. You don't want to hang around villains too much, do you? Not really. So we're going to go to the myths and legends. Myths and legends. Very popular round this was, and it was really varied as well, because it was obviously about myths and legends that have actually been written from a long time ago, but also authors' takes on myths and legends and how they've adapted them themselves into sort of new storylines and stuff. And it was really popular. So we've got 2 questions from myths and legends. Here we go. Question number 5. Which zodiac goddess fell from the sky in Maz Evans' Who Let the Guards Out? I'll read that again. Which zodiac goddess fell from the sky in Maz Evans' Who Let the Gods Out? Have a think. 10 seconds. Here we go. Who was it? Who was it? 3, 2, 1, and that's an interesting sound. Never made that one before. If you've never played a kazoo, it's quite difficult. The trick is don't blow, but you have to kind of got a hum on it. It's quite difficult, but have a go. When I meet you all in person, we'll have a kazoo competition. That'd be lovely. Here we go. Question 6. What mythical artifact was said to be able to turn material to gold and give immortality? I'll read that again. What mythical artifact was said to be able to turn material to gold and give immortality? 10 seconds, 10 seconds. Have a think about this. It's actually quite a famous, quite a difficult wording of the question, but it's a very famous artifact. 3, 2, 1, and okay. So the answers to these 2 questions, I've got to give you the answer to the last one. Got you hanging there. Okay. Question 5, the zodiac goddess was Virgo. And question 6, the mythical artifact was the philosopher's stone. The philosopher's stone. Yeah, I know. How'd you get on? Fiona, did you get that? You did. You didn't get that. Oh, dear. Okay, question 7. So this was another round, partnerships in books, and it was pretty difficult. I think a lot of children found this difficult, but as I said, there's such a mix of questions in there, and it really gets you thinking about your book knowledge and stories, which is obviously incredibly important. We're all living one, let's face it. So here we go, partnerships in books. Question 7, here we go. Name the detective duo who are sisters and work together to solve the high-rise mystery by Shana Jackson. I'll say that again. Name the detective duo who are sisters and work together to solve the high-rise mystery by Shana Jackson. Here we go. Need both names for the point, please. Both names for the point. What are the detective duo sisters? High-rise mystery by Shana Jackson. Time up, time up. Okay, the answer to that is Nick and Norva. Nick and Norva. Okay, sticking with partnerships in books and question 8. I wonder how you're getting on. I hope you're doing very, very well. If you're not, it's okay. It's only a bit of fun. Don't let it ruin your evening. It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. Here we go. Question 8. What animal is Will Parry's Damon, who Will meets for the first time in the amber spyglass? What animal is Will Parry's Damon, who Will meets for the first time in the amber spyglass? Here we go, 10 seconds. Three, 2, 1, and boom. Okay, we're nearly there. You're doing so well. I'm very proud of you. And at the end of a long week as well, you're doing great. Here we go. So the answer to that is the animal is a cat. And I don't quite know how to pronounce her name, so I get this wrong. I do apologize. I've got Kajava is her name. So Kajava is the cat's name. Here we go. Question 9. So in this, in the quiz, we had all kinds of things. This was a really popular round, and it was a really good fun to do, and it got you thinking in all sorts of different ways. This was a brain teaser round, and it was crossword clues. So they'd be given a clue, of course, and they had to sort of work it out a bit like a crossword. And there was anagrams in there as well. It was a lot of fun. So question 9 is a brain teaser, and it's a crossword style clue. Here we go. If you first go walking in chaos, you might find a hole in the noise. I'll read that again. If you first go walking in chaos, you might find a hole in the noise. Now, this is a book title, and it's got 6 words. 10 seconds, quite brutal, this one, 10 seconds. Come on, people, get thinking. If you go walking in chaos, you might find a hole in the noise. 3, 2, 1, and listen, I hope you did very, very well with that. I just explained a little bit about your final question. So as part of the billion questions that were asked during the National Reading Champions quiz, one of the rounds was a film round. And myself made some short films based on book titles. And they're about 20 seconds to about 50 seconds long. and the children, it was a great round, all the children sort of sat around and watched them together. And in these rounds, the little films were me acting out various book titles. And what they had to do is look for various visual and audio clues to try and figure out what the book title was. So as a little example, and to get the old grey matter working for the last time this week, someone's going to do a screen share in a minute, and they're going to show you one of these short films. And then when we're back, and I will give you the answer. But I just remembered, before we do, you want to know what the book title is of question 9. Hang in there. Okay. This was a really hard crossword clue. And the book title was The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. Brilliant, difficult clue. Okay, so when we're ready, let's get sharing that video.
Let's get ready to rumble! Mr. Dilly, are you ready?
Yep, I am starving.
On my whistles, let the games begin!
Okay, I hope that kind of played all right your end. It was a bit jerky mine, but I hope it's all right your end. So, what was that book title being acted out? Have a think about it. There were audio and visual clues. I'll give you 10 seconds, then we're back with the answers to explain those clues. Here we go, 10 seconds. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and well done, people. Let's all give each other a big round of applause. You can't see each other, but you know, nowadays you've got to get the energy because you know, you've got to share the laugh through the screen. A beautiful thing. So, in that particular film, gives you a good example of it. Audio and visual clues. You had people saying, you know, are you ready? So yes, I'm starving. It was obviously a game show of some kind of thing. And then I was eating, and then I caught on fire. So if you put all that together, you'll get the Hunger Games, because it was a game show. I was hungry, but also because I caught on fire, it's the Hunger Games Catching Fire. And if you got that, well, Fiona got that. Well, I hope you got that as well. Henrietta probably got that because she's probably seen it before a few times. But give yourself a big round of applause. Fantastic. So that's just a little taster of the National Reading Champions quiz. I don't know if any of you took part this year or not, but please, you know, when it comes available, do sign up for next year. So as I said, it was a great success this year, an awful lot of fun. As things stand, I think we're still doing the actual regional heats online, and then we're going to go to a live final, I think kind of in May time next year. Just a couple of things about me. I hope you don't mind me doing this. My name is Mr. Dilly. If you would like to know more about me or the things I'm doing, it's mrdilly.com. Just one last thing. National Poetry Day is next week, and a free event interviewing the, I think it's Clipper Award winner from last year. Forgive me if I pronounce her name. It's Zaro Weil or Zaro Wheel. I interviewing her, and there's also a premiere of a new film I've done called Top of the Poems. That's going to be next Thursday at 11 o'clock in the morning, and it's free for all schools to watch. And Literature Trust kindly have done a couple of posts about that as well. So if you're interested in that, do go hop over to mrdilly.com and you'll be able to learn all about that as well. So it was a pleasure being with you this afternoon, and I hope you've had a great week, and I look forward to seeing you all, hopefully, even if it's virtually, in the future. So thank you very much. Give yourself a big round of applause. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Thank you.